No mai, haere mai, ke Aotearoa Rugby Pod. Welcome to the Aotearoa Rugby Pod, brought to you by Ashley and Martin Medical Hair Centres. Today we'll have a close look at where the All Blacks improved as they locked down the Bledisloe Cup once again in Auckland. The impact of the likes of Roigard and Tupaea was big, as well as Tupaea. But can they back it up with Skelton and Valentini set to return for Australia? In South Africa, Feinberg-Mngomezulu went from the next big thing to the current big thing with a stunning performance against Argentina. We'll look at what must be done to take the Black Ferns from third at the Rugby World Cup to winning the next edition. And of course, the NPC has 1 week left of regular season, so we'll break down who is in the running for home semis and playoff spots. Plus, we have another Rugby Ready giveaway for a month of free training with All Blacks guru Dr. Nick Gill's training team. And as I mentioned earlier, there will be your emails and comments, as well as all the in-depth analysis you've come to expect from James Parsons and Bryn Hall. Jipper, Bledisloe Cup in the bank, one job done there.
Absolutely. And the 5 o'clock kickoff, how good was it?
Yeah.
You know, daylight savings is back. The world just feels good again.
It's a roller coaster ride.
It certainly is, and I mean it was tight. Definitely there were moments where the game was in the balance, but yeah, obviously got the result in the end.
Of course, Bryn Hall over in Japan. Brynner, what did you make of that game and the progress of the All Blacks in that game?
Look, I think the first 20 minutes and the amount of opportunities that we did have, like it was probably the running rugby that we wanted to see. Look, I think the defensive issues around with the Wallabies in terms of what we thought we were going to get with them being passive. We probably did see that in that first 20 minutes. We were able to play on top of them, the ability to be able to get the ball to the edge and being able to use our skill set because we could play on top of them, winning that collision area, especially tight, set us up with three good tries really early on. But I think probably the displeasing thing for us is that we haven't been able to show that we're ruthless enough to be able to, I guess, put the foot on the throat and been able to really submit teams. And I guess it comes back to the all discipline issues around if we do give teams penalties, teams are scoring pretty easily against us when they are given opportunities. So I guess just the resilience-wise in terms of when we don't have that momentum and we aren't always going to have it, but can we stifle that? Can we stop that? And then being able them for not to be able to score points? Because, yeah, look, I think, you look at that first half in the DNA, and I think the likes of Roigard that you guys kind of touched on, and what he brings to that All Black environment when it comes to the attack, the instinctiveness, the decision-making, the ability to be able to snipe and be able to make, the hard defense really tight and worry about him in terms gives us the opportunity to be able to attack out wide. But I guess it's just more so the ruthlessness, Ross, that we probably had an opportunity to really put the pressure on the Australians, but probably just weren't able to. And it's been a common trend for us, I guess, throughout this kind of June series with the French and this Rugby Championship.
We've had a few emails come through along those lines. One from Jared Simmons basically saying, hey, look, Roigard's so good, it's because of his ability to play in front of him. Is that being coached out of our players? Is it the system making it so we're not playing what's in front of us in the same way that we used to?
Yeah, look, I think it's a fine balance. Like, you do definitely need to have a phase play system. But I think what Roigard does is he creates so much opportunity for others because the defence is just so concerned around that breakdown that they can get tight, which creates that space for a Caleb Clark on the edge to just have that one-on-one or a Tupaea to see that space on the inside and take it. So it's not so much about it being coached out of them, it's just about creating the pitches that allow them to do it. Like, you could see that it was just instinct, and that was the best thing. And even his first try, you watch, and I spoke about how the Wallabies like to fold really quick in the 22. He'd just done his prep, he'd done his work, but he just sees an opportunity. A lot of times in teams you say, don't go against the grain, but he does have an element of, I don't care, like, I can see something here, I'm going to score. And that freedom and that belief in his own game is probably the most, critical. But, Bryn, I was sort of waxing lyrically about Bryn's big call about him being as good as DuPont, but, holy dooly, that was a statement performance along the lines of getting there.
Brenner, when you talk about a halfback working within a system and the freedom that Roigard tends to have, is there a balance there? Like, how do you approach it as a halfback to go if you feel like it's ready to go?
That's actually a really good question, Ross, because it is hard in terms of like kind of depending on what your structure is. So like, if you want to get the ball out nice and quick, and that's probably the game plan, right? Let's look at Aaron Smith for an example. That was the game plan of what made the All Blacks really good, the quick ball and being able to get the ball out. But what I feel that Cam does really, really well, and this is what I think makes him so special, is that yes, he's got a core skill of being able to get the ball out really fast, but his decision making and his instinctiveness about when to be able to take the right option at the right time, he gets that right. And that's probably something that's his biggest strength, because I think you are right. Sometimes you can get it taken out of you depending on the higher up you get, the messages coming from coaches around a skill set, a particular skill set like Aaron Smith, if I use for the example. But he's just very, very good and very instinctive, and he just backs himself. And that's probably the thing that I see. He backs himself when he sees a picture, he goes for it, and he's strong enough. If he does make the wrong decision, he's good enough physically to be able to make it a positive, if that makes sense. He can be able to bump someone off, he can get some footwork to be able to get a little offload and keep the ball going. So, yeah, look, it was only his first test match at Eden Park. We forget that, like, he's very raw in terms of the international game. So hopefully he can stay injury-free, because I think with him playing an India tour, and if we can get him consistently playing for this Northern Hemisphere tour and, this last game of the Rugby Championship, I think it is going to unlock this All Black attack with what we saw probably in the first 20 minutes in the first half.
Even that vision, and I suppose, Bryn, you can talk to this, the skill it takes to get that tops kick for the 50-22. He does seem to, the great players, it almost looks like the game is slow. Do you know what I mean? Like, it looks like they have so much time, and he just seems to appear like everything's moving in slow motion for his brain.
Yeah.
And everyone else is it's sort of helter-skelter.
We probably won the aerial battle as well in terms with the All Blacks this week, because you look at the height of his kicks and the ability to be able to get that ball for a 50-50 for the likes of Jordan, Clark, even Barrett, whoever was running, to get the opportunity to get that 50-50 ball. So that's a big part of the international game at the moment. It's something that we did touch on, that we probably think the All Blacks needed to win on our ball, being able to get really good kicks off 9. And look, Cam did that really well on the weekend. So, if we want to go to a plan B and we're not getting our attack right, having Cam that can be able to do the contestable game alongside with that 50-22. And also I thought Bowden Barrett as well, Jip, in that first half, his contestables off 10, they married it up quite nicely within their kicking strategy, going off 9 and off 10. I just thought our kicking game was a lot better, and our aerial game as well, winning the ball back and being able to get those opportunities to have a click attack and turnover attack off those regained kicks.
I think we only kicked 16 times for 400 odd metres, so and it's the most metres we'd run, close to 1,300 metres run. So there was definitely an attitude. 5 o'clock kickoff, I know it changes things. There's a lot less due, but that mindset excites me and as a fan, but also understanding what's made us great for 130 plus years is that ability to just play from anywhere. It almost gives you a get out of jail free card, and that's what makes, I suppose, the players strike. And I think if you're not given that license, you can see a little bit more of the robotic, go to phase play, build phases and try and wear them down.
You talked about the wing there with Tupaea. Is he a legit option? We've seen 6 wingers start so far this season. Is he a legit option as they figure out their backfield? Yeah,
look, I definitely think he is, purely because he's played wing a lot for the Chiefs. He's played All Blacks 15 as well, so he's very much accustomed to it. I do like the way they sort of manipulated the backfield, though. They had Jordy sort of drop back there so he could take the contestable kicks, which worked really well. There just gets there's an element that performance deserves a start, but for me, I suppose if Caleb's injury isn't right, there is an opportunity obviously to move Leroy back to the left, Will to the right, and Geordie fullback, and then potentially an opportunity for Tupaea in the midfield. But that's a big statement performance for me. Like he's definitely demanding more minutes through performance.
What do you think, Bryn? Because we've seen Ioane, Reece, Narawa, Jordan, Carter, Clark. What have you thought has been the best 11, 14, 15 that you've seen so far?
It's hard because he probably hasn't been that continuity in that position, but I think the reason why they picked a Caleb Clark for the weekend is because the aerial battle, and it's been such a big talking point in and around being able to win the ball in the air. So look, a Caleb Clark, along with his ability to be able to get over the advantage line, but his ability to be able to win the ball in there, I think, was one of the reasons why he was selected. So look, I think Tupaea played really well on the weekend and would be warranted to start with his performance, not just on the weekend, but consistently in that 22 role. Look, you do want to give him an opportunity, but if you do want to go back to the aerial role and having a winger that does that, Lester Feinberg-Mngomezulu is someone that has been in that environment for a couple of weeks now, and is somewhat similar to a Caleb Clark when it comes to the aerial battle. So, whether Quinn starts on the wing and then you get Lester into that 22 role, he can cover centre and wing. So, is it a like-for-like swap, putting Lester on the bench and having Quinn on the wing? I'm not too sure, but I just think that aerial battle and the way that they were able to get it with Caleb Clark, the execution of the kick was right, and I agree with Jip, the ability that they had. Geordie Barrett, having Will Jordan at the back, takes care of that kind of pendulum at the back to win the ball when they're kicking the ball. But I wouldn't be surprised if they did pick a Leicester on the wing with a similar skill set of what a Caleb Clark does have.
Beauden Barrett's got a shoulder injury. That leaves you Damian McKenzie and Ruben Love, who we've not seen much of. And I'm imagining if the Wallabies continue with what was a relatively passive defence, that's the kind of thing that works for Damian McKenzie, Brent.
100%. And you get that with obviously the collision area around the breakdown. And look, if we can do that, it's going to be probably a little bit more difficult in terms of when you've got a Skelton and a Valentini. If they are going to come back, they probably will come back into that squad. So physicality is going to set up everything for us. But yeah, I think what it does do, and it's also just his skill set that he has as well. His ability to be able to get the ball into space, and when you've got time and him being able to play on top of teams, he's one of the best in the world when it comes to footwork and beating people as well. So yeah, I think I would start Damian, considering that the Rugby Championship still is on the line. And look, you have a Ruben Love that I'm not too sure if in that environment, if he's been playing 10 consistently in the training, I'm not too sure. Maybe he has, I'm not too sure. But I think also he has played 15 when going back for Wellington. So it's not like he has played valuable minutes in that number 10 jersey, even when going back to NPC. So yeah, I'd stick with Damian. He played well on the weekend when it came to being able to nail his goals, the execution of game management, which was required in those tight scenarios on the weekend, especially in the second half. So yeah, I'd stick with Damian, have a Ruben Love, and then just depending on what they want to do with 22. Is it going to be a Quinn Tupaea, Lester Faianuku, even Anton Leonard-Brown in that 22 role? But yeah, I expect to see Ruben Love in that 23.
We're talking about off the cuff. Sasha Feinberg-Mngomezulu is incredible. He's gone from the next big thing to the biggest thing right now, just like that.
That was a performance for the ages. And I made a comment when we were watching it. I said that was as good as Carter in 05. The perfect 10 game. Like, that was just the crossfield kicks, the sees the halfback's trap, boom, in there, the spin move, the 50-22 doesn't go, chase, like as soon as he kicks it, he is just
flying,
hooning down there, and like, it was, even early on, he put this little grubber through and then he towed it on again, like from the moment things kicked off, and I know they didn't have it all their own way for 30 odd minutes of that first half, he was just all out attack. Talk about licence, but it's his accuracy. Like the crossfield kick, how flat and hard that was for Kolbe was just pinpoint. It is just simply the best performance I've probably seen in World Rugby since 05.
The worry that I have is that because with how Rusty is, he doesn't pick the same 23 consistently. I just hope for Rusty and for South Africans, and even for me as a Kiwi watching, that they just continue to keep picking this guy, because look, the way that South Africa could be with him at the realm and being able to play consistently week on, week in and week out for a couple more years, they're a very, very dangerous team, and it's going to be tough to be able to stop them when they've got the ability of him and being able to get that gain line percentage that they've been able to get on the weekend.
Do you think we've got a person here where we're going to be saying it's Wilkinson, Carter and Feinberg-Mngomezulu? You know what I mean? Are we talking that ilk or better?
You've got to do it consistently. You've got to win World Cups. You've got to win big games. You've got to have iconic moments that kind of lead to that greatness. But geez, when it comes to potential and what he showed on the weekend, skill set wise and the potential, 100% he's able to do it. Time will tell in terms of the body of work through the years and winning big games and big moments. Then you can start having that conversation. But definitely potential.
Absolutely.
Could be the greatest of all time.
Could be, yeah. And I think potential's out the window. He's reached potential. I don't know how big his ceiling is, if there even is one. It's
going to be the first rugby player to fly.
Yeah, but there'll be days where it doesn't come off. And you're going to have to live with that. But I feel because as he's getting more and more experience, he's not been reckless. Like none of those decisions or brilliant moments were reckless, but they were outstanding, but they was all controlled. Methodical, he knew what he was doing. And what I'd say, to go back to when they lost to RG, it was guesswork. And it was no-look kicks and it was no-look passes to try and be who he was on the weekend. And now I think that experience and growth, and with the guidance of a Tony Brown, I think if you look at your Rushmore of 10s, he'll be there.
He'll be there. Let's talk reckless, Bryn, and Cheslin Kolbe. What was going on there?
Mate, surely he was just kicking that. Like, to me, I saw that he was just just kicking it over there. Like, I get, it was the right ruling.
Yeah.
But he was not dropping that out. There was no dropping out there at all.
It's a bizarre thing to do to actually take a drop kick.
I know, but you could tell there was never any intent.
We kicked it as well. Like, it wasn't even actually like on the line. It was pretty much like a couple of meters behind and just doing it kind of casually. But yeah, when I saw it happen, I was like, because I think in the Super Sport coverage, you couldn't really see what was happening, and then figured out, what's kind of happened here. But yeah, the fact that it actually rolled 5 meters, he would have just been like holding his breath and going like, oh no, how's this happening? And apparently it was very quiet in Durban. From what the commentators were saying, was that you could hear a pin drop after they scored that try.
It's a hell of a ground to hear a pin drop at, like those stands like that, and the people are basically on top of you. It's a stadium, eh?
Yeah,
like,
you definitely feel on top if it was quiet.
Yeah.
It certainly was. They were getting the rub of the green, RG, at that point, but, oh, man. We didn't know what was coming.
Well, that last 20 minutes was something else.
It was just...
Because it was actually a really good game up until then. And then the score line, because I looked at the score before I watched the game, and it was completely different to what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, and just such fine margins again, but it was just the speed and tempo that the Springboks were allowed to play at was just... You just can't stop an onslaught when they get going, can you? Like, it's just because they're so big, get over that gain line, quick ball, and then they've just got players that will just play what they see. It was beautiful to watch.
It was. That spin move from...
Oh, mate, that was like, outrageous.
Rockethoko-esque, like it was...
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Even when he went in there, and I was like... You know, like, it was great, but he even looked up and it was like he just knew he was doing that.
Yeah.
From the moment he went in there, he was not passing that. Oh.
It's like you say, he's got time. Like he's in the Matrix. Like he just things are slow motion around him.
Everything is slow motion, but it's his maturity that's the most impressive. It's how and when he pulls trigger.
Is the Rugby Championship in the bag now?
Yep.
Yeah, well, the points difference, we'd have to win by a hell of a lot.
Yeah.
Like 40 or 50 points, I'd say. So, yeah, you'd have to think it's South Africa's to lose. But, I mean, you just never know with Argentina. Maybe taking it away from South Africa is a benefit to them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and I predict South Africa, but I don't think it's just a given. They were right in that contest. It just blew out. In the space of 10, 15 minutes.
Now, let's go to the Ashley and Martin turning point. Let's talk about the same kind of theme when it comes to the Wallabies. The Wallabies were right in that contest, but with 50 minutes gone, things just went a little bit awry, didn't they?
It was their own kind of mistakes. Like, I think, look, James O'Connor, a couple of, not finding touch, and even a kickoff that goes out. The penalty and then the scoreboard pressure through that kind of, I'd say, what was it, maybe the 48th minute to the 56th, 57th minute, they just had like kind of a snowball effect of bad things that happened. So, and we were able to, I guess, build that momentum that they kind of had that from that Harry Potter try just before half time. So yeah, the penalties, we can't underestimate, what was it, 18 penalties that they had on the weekend. And I was actually watching the Stan Sport coverage over here in Japan, and yeah, they were definitely not happy in and around what the refereeing decisions were, and quite biased when actually listening to it. But the ill-discipline was a big part of it, and the mistakes in moments when, unfortunately, James O'Connor just not being able to find touch, and those little kind of examples probably led to the All Blacks being able to just get above and being able to score points when they needed to off those kind of mistakes from the Wallabies. The
2 tries Aussie scored, we competed defensively in the line-out. And the maul got going. Pollard's try, even though they got back down and stopped it, it was, like you couldn't recover. It was quick ball and try, and then obviously the other maul, that just got going because we competed again. So I think the All Blacks will look at that, maybe not looking to compete, probably stay down, but get that into the corner and they compete and you get a try there. I think Australia take control of that game, and O'Connor lifts and gets that mojo that, he's sort of finding. But yeah, I just think Will Jordan making that play was very, very crucial.
Do you go with Liner? I hear he could be back this week, and then put O'Connor on the bench as a finisher. Is that the best way for the Wallabies to go this week, do you think?
Look, I think Joe is definitely looking to give the young 10s the crack where possible, because he knows O'Connor's probably not going to be available all the time. But for me, they need to win a game. and I think O'Connor's their best chance. I'd start him.
Yeah.
I would have started him against Argent as well. I know what they're doing and they're working towards 2027, but personally, I think you start him again.
Yeah, I just think for me, I think the Rugby Championship's gone for them. So they're going to go to an end-of-year tour. I'm not too sure if James O'Connor is going to be for that end-of-year tour. So why not at Perth give a Liner or a Tane Edmund a start in a test match against the All Blacks? Like if the Rugby Championship was on, then great. But I think with what Jip was saying, I think Joe Schmidt does want the opportunity to be able to give a young 10 an opportunity to be able to play these meaningful test matches. So I would start a Tane Edmund or a Tom Liner at 10. And then if you want to have James O'Connor coming on as a finisher like he did with the Crusaders and have that experience, then great. But yeah, I'd go with one of the younger 10s to start for this test match.
In terms of selection as well, I think obviously with Valentini and Skelton coming back, I remember a game where Patrick Tupaea was told, take on Ebenezer, Blues versus Stormers, and he put in one of the biggest hits in the midfield, and both colossal men just going, they were going for each other, and Paddy just absolutely smoked him, drove him back. I think even got a turnover from the tackle, forced an error. I'd love to see them send him out and go, because there's the one area they wouldn't have liked, I don't think, the All Blacks, is in all the key metrics of, I suppose, gain line, speed of ball, turnovers. We lost them, and we probably lost the collision in terms of in the Australian carry, which I don't think they'd be used to. I know our attack was going well, but defensively, I think they'd want to make a change and maybe chance their arm, because we tackled at about 93% or just under. And that's great, but sometimes you'd rather tackle at 88, 89% and absolutely destroy people. And I think Patrick could be that guy if you gave him the licence defensively to say, go get Skelton. Remind him you're the big dog in the yard, and go get Valentini. He's one of the best at it when he gets given that licence and he's got a job to do, and just that's your job.
If you look at the ball carriers coming around the corner and just being able to pretty much just coming around the corner and trying to get over their advantage line, they're able to do that against us quite a lot. And if you look at their metrics in terms of how they attack, this is what their percentages are. So 63% of it is tight, 27% is mid, and 9% is wide. For the All Blacks on the other side, 42% tight, 44% mid, and 13% wide. So I think as a DNA with Joe Schmidt, they want to be able to narrow you up nice and tight, win that collision area, and then being able to use the backs when they finally do see the pitches that they want to do. So I think that collision area, the heart, you talk around, Paddy Tupaea to be able to come out, take it to Skelton, take it to Valentini, whoever that forward pack is, that heart defence and that collision area is probably, they'll know that it's coming, because it's been the DNA under Joe Schmidt to get tight, get over the advantage line, and then hopefully when they do see that picture, they're able to attack with their backs in a swinging motion, probably like Potter that we saw just before half-time.
I was just going to say that swinging motion of Potter's try, I'd love to see us utilise that a bit more. I know we've spoken about this swing attack, but that overhead view camera was perfect to just show how hard it is to defend, because bodies are coming into your zone so late that it's really hard to bring line speed and shut it down. You are risking a lot, and I think you imagine if you've got a Damian McKenzie, a Geordie Barrett, and a Will Jordan just parked up behind and can just swing, and then you've got the wingers holding the edge. You've got the bailout to go, big bridge pass or a crossfield kick. But I've actually used an example of Northland against North Harbour, and Rivers Rehan is doing it extremely well in the NPC, and I know it's a different level, but this will give, I suppose, the viewers a good picture of what it creates, and I think it's Rivers, Jordan, Trainer, and one more sort of swing round, and the Harbour defence just gets caught halfway house, and then they forget about the player on the edge and the big pass. But had they worried about that, then the hole would have been there for Jordan. I think with the players that we have, and you've got your Cam Roigards, if you're worried about these three out the back, then he's running there. You just can't get set.
When you've got all that animation coming back down the short side, because it's a late feel, because you think they're going to be able to go the same way, and then when they are coming back, you've got all these animation, you've got downline runners, you've got three guys stacked in behind, so you actually can't count who you're actually on. So unless you collectively just want to bring line speed and you just try back yourself, kind of like a South African defence, put the skill set under pressure, there's opportunities to be able to get the ball a width, whether it's a bridge, a little kick in behind, or a little attacking kick to the edge as well. So, yeah, it's definitely one thing that I think we could, I guess, use, being able to go down maybe more down the short side and being able to, I guess, put defences in a little bit more of a tricky situation of thinking who we're on and being able to not bring line speed and, I guess, tackle who they think they need to tackle.
We've had an email come through from Mark Redwood saying the All Blacks were penalised several times for off-feet penalties on attack, but I see this frequently occurring in lots of rucks. What was different this time around?
This is one of the rules I really struggle with because, I'm a big believer you've got to react to the ref and make adjustments based on that. But it's just such a hard one as someone that, if you've got some threats, if I think about it back, your David Pococks, your Michael Hoopers, and you see them in and around, and you rush in because you're like, we've got to get rid of them. And if they pull out or they, and you just get, you're just so committed. It's like, there is no stopping. But it is a penalty, I get it. But I just think they played the Mickey Mouse really well. And we were looking to have a physical presence. And sometimes when you go in that mindset, you want to hurt bodies, you want to, you really want to set a tone. Once you sort of overcommit and you lose the ability to sort of stop, you open yourself up to a penalty, and it's just reffed inconsistently. No, I'm not saying it was over the 80 minutes, I'm just saying week to week. It is a frustrating one.
From a technical point of view, does it generally mean that you were late? You weren't there on time and you had to overcommit? You didn't have that presence there at the time that it should have been there, and so you've come in from the side or you've gone off your feet. You're rushing. Yeah.
So it is, or there's a threat, because sometimes you'd put guys in a bib during the training week and they'd have an orange bib saying that they're David Pocock or Michael Hooper. And sometimes because you've trained it, it's ingrained in your mind, you see them and then you overrush. You've actually, sometimes they're not late, but because you overrush because you know they're such a threat, that's where then you're too early and then you're hitting nothing. And then you've taken the opportunity away in the ref's eyes for them to have a fair contest, and that's when the penalties lead. So it's a bit of a balance. Sometimes you can be too early but too aggressive. I still think it's a Joe Schmidt coach. The breakdown's his thing. He lives and breathes for that area. And he knows the All Blacks players really well, spent a lot of time. So he would have picked apart, but also previous weeks we've spoken about that coach, captain, ref meeting. He would have planted seeds. Yeah. To look at this. Yeah. And this is what we're trying to do. Yeah. So there's a lot that goes into it during the week that leads to things that don't normally get penalised, like the Mark's asking, like what was different. It's normally to do with the conversations that lead up to the test.
Is that a confidential conversation? So, for instance, if the second team that comes in for that conversation, I'm imagining you do that conversation separately. Yeah. Are you allowed to find out what the previous team said?
No.
No.
No. You're just putting your case forward. Yeah. Around what you've seen and opportunities you're going to try to attempt.
Right, and then the refs are kind of cagey and straight.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They give you absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a beautiful meeting, I tell you. It's all like, I just love it. You want a coffee, mate? All the pleasantries, and it's just like, you're just looking for that, just an inch. Give us an inch on the day. And maybe you'll say six things and one will stick with them. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? You also learn about the refs' trends. And then you play into that. You say, oh, your trends are this, and so we've made some adjustments around that. It's not just looking at the opposition. You sort of position what you're trying to do to fit in with his trends.
Yeah. So the refs aren't buying the coffee. Is that what you're saying? The refs aren't buying it?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, it's Ben O'Keefe's keeping that.
In my experience, I definitely led with a coffee order. I don't know what everyone else does, but yes, there's definitely. Yeah. You'll do anything.
This is the challenge for Ben. Where's that camera? Ben O'Keefe. I know you watch the show. You go buy the coffees for the players in the next one, Ben.
Because there's no doubt the player and the coach is bringing coffee. So there's going to be coffees galore.
Double parked. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So we've got an email here through from Brett Pike about leadership and captaincy. And we know that There's a big conversation about Scott Barrett versus Ardie Savia in the public domain at the moment. He says, when Ardie called Scott Barrett over to lift the Bledisloe, Scott looked a little sheepish. To me, these aren't signs you want to see from your captain and leader. Ardie is clearly the main driving force in this team. Do you think the All Blacks should reconsider the captaincy moving forward? I suppose the first things first, shifting a captain is a major thing, Bryn. Like, I imagine season on season, you don't do it within the season unless there's an injury.
Yeah, look, very rarely do you see it, and especially when it comes to the All Blacks, have been able to change captaincy. I can't remember the last time that it even happened in terms of when the new coach came in, was selected as captain, and then changed it. So, look, I think Scott will still be captain. I just think Ardie, when given the opportunity, when there are injuries, he's a big part of that All Black leadership group. And I guess when it does come to leadership groups, because I think, some people do think that it just comes down to the captain, but as Jip would know, there's so many leaders within that leadership group that actually drive different areas of what is required, I guess, in the games and off the field. So, like, the captain, of course, is the person that everybody sees. It goes, the be-all and end-all ends with him, but there's so many people in and around a captain when it comes to leadership groups. Your 9, your 10, how many there are, they play their own specific role within a group, within the week and in games. So I think the leadership group in itself is a reflection of, I guess, the skipper that is there as well. So Scott's going to have his responsibilities as you do as a captain, but the guys that are in and behind, like an Ardie Savia, a Boda Barrett, a Damian McKenzie, a Cody Taylor, whoever it might else be, they play massive roles, I guess, for the running of the team, not just when it comes to the captain as well.
If you're humble, you're not trying to take the limelight from the guys that have done the job.
Yeah.
And I think, to me, it was just him letting them have their moment. But it's also nice, to me, that shows he is the captain because they wanted him there.
Yeah.
Come on, mate, you're our skip. And, so like I read it a little bit differently. I thought, that's a pretty good sign that things are in the right place. And also, I agree with Bryn, like, I don't know why we'd want to put more unnecessary pressure on ourselves by making a change when it really is just a letter next to your name. Like, you've all got roles within that leadership group and roles on the field. Whether it's the C's next to Ardie's name or Scott's name, no roles are going to change.
Yeah. It seems pretty rare that you see a captain just make a decision. Like, it always seems to be a small huddle happening. Even if it's go for the corner or for the post or whatever, there's always 2 or 3 people in that discussion.
Yeah, well, your game drivers are the bosses there. Yeah. Like, you're the captain, yes, but like you get, and also sometimes you look at the kicker. Do you want to kick this? Oh, I'm not a fan. Okay, sweet, we're going to the corner. And I just think all that work's done leading into the week, what your strategy is early in the game, what your strategy is in the what-if situations, and it's almost, what's happening. Everyone knows what's happening because if you've done the work, you know what you're going to do.
If you, a family member or friend, wants to get into rugby shape, we have the giveaway to suit. Along with All Blacks trainer Dr. Nick Gill's Rugby Ready team, we're trying to get the rugby community, whether you're a player or a fan, fit and strong. Each week, one winner will receive 4 weeks of free access to the Rugby Ready Perform membership, with full access to all of Dr. Nick Gill's pre-season, in-season, off-season and specialty programs to help take your game to the next level. A huge congratulations to this week's winner of the Rugby Ready giveaway, Tyler Cottrell. You've scored 4 weeks of free access to the Rugby Ready Perform membership. Thanks again to everyone who entered. We love reading your stories. And if you didn't win this round, don't worry, you're still in the running, so keep those amazing submissions coming, and it could be your name we announce next week. Want in? It's simple. Just DM Rugby Ready on Instagram with the code ARP and tell them why you'd love to win. And of course, if you miss out, you can get 75% off memberships through ARP by going to the link or using the QR code below. Now, speaking of reaching your potential, the Black Ferns, they showed in that game against France what they're capable of in the first half, didn't they?
I know, but that was the hardest thing. I think, I was like, did we just get it wrong? We'll just have that 1 week where we just didn't quite get it right. You have to acknowledge one certain player that was back and just had such a big influence. It's just, she's just a level above. Jorja Miller, I'm obviously referring to, but just everything creates opportunity for others, manage to stay through collisions. To give you an example of how Jorja Miller creates opportunities for others is Sorensen McGee's try. So she cuts on the inside and that turns the French defender in. Sorensen McGee does, it's great individual brilliance from Sorensen McGee. I'm not trying to take it away, but it doesn't happen. Like any other player cuts on the inside, you're probably happy to just hold and push. But because she hesitates, that created the gap to go through. And then the brilliance to get around the last defender was all Braxton. But that's the stuff that gets created. And especially even when it's on slow ball or something, because of the threat, it just gives you those, I suppose, 2 or 3 split seconds more to make the right decision. And we just didn't have that against Canada, but I suppose to give an actual visual example, that was the best I could think of.
Here's the thing for me, Brynner. It's imperative that these Sevens players play in Aupiki for me. It's imperative. Like the tournament requires it. New Zealand rugby requires Jorja Miller to be visible at all times.
If we want to take Aupiki to the next level, you want to have the best talent. And look, that Sevens program and the girls that they do have there that came into this World Cup, they have a massive influence and difference for the team. So, and have the ability to be able to come back and being able to show what it looks like to be a professional for those young girls coming through and to bring that standard up, not only just on the field but off the field and having those conversations. Yeah, I think hopefully, next year when Aupiki comes around, that these Sevens players are able to be able to play in this tournament because, yeah, it's definitely needed for the competitiveness of the competition and it's going to bring eyes and commercialism to be able to have Jorja Miller and Braxton Sorensen McGee and the girls that are playing in the Sevens to come and play and seeing the new stars coming through as well with all of them being able to play in that competition.
It's an absolute no-brainer and everyone's working towards it and hopefully next year we can see it.
It's a bums on seats thing, isn't it? Like, I will pay to go and watch Jorja Miller. I will give you my good money because I know that I'm going to get a show. Yeah,
and I think it's also eyes from overseas fans as well. Like whether you can be there physically or you want to watch it, getting eyes on the TV screen, it's infectious. Like it's ridiculous how good she is.
Yeah.
It really is. It's just outrageous.
Yeah. Now, she didn't get Sevens Player of the Year. World Rugby Player of the Year. And looking at Goede play for Canada, it's pretty understandable. She made the final and she had a massive impact on getting there.
And had a massive impact on that semi-final. So I think, and you've got to put into context the situation. Like I think that does need to be considered, like in terms of how they got there, the players' experience at that high performance level around her. And she stood out and above and brought others with her, and I think that's a massive part of that criteria, and I think it's a fair reflection.
And she kicks goals.
She does.
that's damn good for her luck.
Well, I just think when you look at players of the year across, they're awesome as individuals, but I think it's also what they do for their team and other individuals in the team and making them better, making coaching better, making the environment thrive, not survive, and she certainly does all that. From the outside looking in, I actually don't know her personally, but from the outside looking in, that's how it appears.
Not a lot of people give John Mitchell a huge amount of credit in New Zealand rugby after history, but really we should be giving some credit to John Mitchell as well. Kiwi's gone there and done a great job with that English team. And
he's got them over the hump, right? Like I think if you look at probably England coming to New Zealand, they were the favourites and, they weren't able to get the job done and, they had a lot of success and only lost that one game even before that and now going pretty much going undefeated post that. So, look, he had the ability to be able to get them over the hump. So, definitely massive congratulations to him. Kiwi doing good things on the world stage. But, that England team, very successful and deserving for the fact that they were able to get over the line in front of their home fans. What a great spectacle it was, seeing Twickenham absolutely packed for that final and seeing the scenes of them winning a World Cup. So, unreal stuff for John Mitchell.
Like, even they win, it's like, oh, you should have.
Yeah.
And if he loses or he get ridiculed,
It's the All Blacks thing. Yeah. He found himself in the same position, and maybe that's why it's working for him, because that's what's expected of the England women, the same thing that's expected of the New Zealand men. Yeah,
and I think he would have learned a lot from 03 in that experience. Well, he's been coaching for 30-odd years at the top level. So, I think in under that sort of scrutiny, we saw it here, a home World Cup is just unrelenting in terms of the attention and the eyes and the ability to be distracted. But they stayed the course. They're certainly enjoying themselves now.
As they should. I
100%.
really like how the World Rugby Awards haven't waited until the end of the year. They've given the awards post-World Cup, so, it's hot and it's its own thing. Now, NPC is heading up too this weekend. Last weekend of round robin, we've got home playoffs on the line. We've got entry into the top 8 on the line. We don't even 100% know who's going to be top of the table, do we? Because Otago, thanks to Northland managing to draw with Canterbury, are right in the running.
Oh, there's every game pretty much has something on it. The only one that probably doesn't is South and North Harbour, but there's plenty of pride to be had in that game. So I think the interesting part for me is the 8, I think, you look at that Counties Tasman game, like Counties.
Yeah, say it.
Holy dooly, like they're just a different team. Like the last 4 or 5 weeks has just been amazing. They've really got their I suppose, their mojo or their belief in their ability to score points.
And Manawatu helping them.
Yeah. But like you think about the last sort of, against Auckland, like they've won by massive margins the last sort of 3 or 4 weeks. And then you got Tasman, who's, had their hearts broken at the last minute on the Shield, and then against Waikato, they obviously got themselves back in form in that first half against Southland, but like they fell away in that second half. So, I mean, that's the game I'm looking at going, that could decide. And the reason why I'm saying it could decide, obviously Tasman will get through, Counties could get through, but the winner of North and Waikato, like they could fall out, or that person will fall out if Counties win.
Yeah, that's a tough win for Counties though, going down to Tasman. That's a really tough way. I mean, if you make your way to Tasman and win that last round game away, Bryn, Counties deserve to be in the playoffs. And amazing considering the start to the season.
Well, it was pretty similar to last year. I remember they were in a very similar situation where they probably didn't start, but they made a run at the back end of the year, and actually were probably a team that you didn't want to play. So, and they've been winning convincingly as well. So, yeah, that's definitely a tough one. But I think we talk around when it comes to, I guess, the NRL terms, when you're kind of making that run and being able to, you don't want to play this team that's coming in nice and hot, and if they're able to go down to Tasman, who they want to be able to have a home semi-final. Pretty important to finish 4th, but yeah, that's going to be a great game. But yeah, I guess it's going to be the 4, 5, and sorry, even if you look at 3, 4, 5, and 6, it's all up in the air for that home semi-final, which is, I guess, what you want in a competition, being able to not know who's going to be where coming into the last round.
You talk about teams coming in hot to the playoffs and timing their run. Bay of Plenty.
Yeah.
Like they look like they started off in a hiss and roar. They dipped. Similar to Taranaki, like they're sitting 3rd and 4th, but I don't know, like it's hard to pick if there is a dominant, and is home is, I suppose it is important, but we're getting to the time of the year where, it's just not that dewy and it's a little bit drier and lighter, like the conditions aren't potentially going to play as big a part. It's exciting.
Daylight savings, I mean, that's an interesting point, right? We've got an extra hour of sunshine. Does that actually play a factor in this?
I think it does, massively. Like, say, Canterbury finished top. Playing them at 7 o'clock now than 7 o'clock during Super Rugby is massively different as to how you're going to play. Probably the only place it doesn't really impact is Otago. It's the roof. You know what you're going to get there. But outside of that, I think it definitely does. And as we've seen previously, the kickoff time has been brought well forward to afternoon finals. So it could even be a 2 o'clocker.
Bryn, I want you to talk me through what you would have done if you were the Canterbury halfback. You were on their line for minutes on end, and all you need to do is kick a drop goal to win the game. Why on earth, and who takes charge of the situation, did Canterbury not kick a drop goal against Northland at 19-all?
It just comes back to been in that position. Look, I do look at that team. It was a lot of probably inexperienced players. They decided to give the guy a lot of their mainstays a rest, but it comes back to your 9 and 10, and probably the guys in and around them identifying that a drop goal is, and no doubt they would have probably thought around that 90th minute extra time. You're pretty much in a position to be able to do it. You've just got to pull trigger. So whether that connection just wasn't there, where they weren't wanting to do it, but I think from this, if they do find themselves in that position again, they'll be a lot different, knowing that, that's probably the option to do.
I know when they swung back blind, I commentated the game, they were just dominating in the pick and go. Like, I almost felt like they were going to score a try. But they'd got themselves literally to the centre of the posts.
Yeah.
It was just, you could even just stand 7 metres and chip the thing over.
Yeah.
The wind was strong, don't get me wrong, but like, it was there.
Let's have a look now at the test match this weekend, the 2 test matches this weekend. New Zealand versus Australia. Firstly, let's start with the fact that they flew to Perth together.
Yeah.
That's bizarre.
Well, I just think of all the conversations you normally have when you're travelling. Laptops would be out, you'd go around cutting clips, showing, talking. I mean, you'd feel like you're missing an opportunity to get ahead, to hit the ground running, because you couldn't do that if someone's sitting right next to you and you're giving away tactics. So it's definitely a first. For me, I think Bryn might have travelled with a team to Fiji once.
Yeah, we did it with I think it was the Chiefs from memory. We I think it was Fiji Airways was the sponsor of us, and we both were pretty much neck and neck. We probably weren't in business class like they were. The Wallabies and the All Blacks were pretty much in a domestic flight setup kind of, but it was weird. Yeah, like you talk here and there, and it's not too bad, but seeing the opposite on the same flight, it was a first. It was definitely a interesting experience.
You bring up an interesting point there, because how many seats are there in business class?
I reckon they would have gone on 2 trips.
All right, yeah.
Surely. There's just no way they would have got the teams in there.
Yeah, because I mean, and if there wasn't enough room, like, who bumps down to premium economy?
But normally from a high performance aspect, I'd say minutes, injuries, who needs game readies and so forth.
Caps.
Brynna would have the training bib on. He'd be walking in there making sure everyone knows that the veteran needs to get his chance.
Oh, well, right now I'd be all right, Ross, but no, back in the day it was more so, it was always with caps and being able to, I think also as well, it kind of came back to how tall they were as well. Like if it was the locks were pretty much a foregone conclusion with how big they are. So it was the locks and the caps, so yeah.
the halfbacks not getting the aisle seat.
You've got to have a bit of pull in terms of caps and being able to the experience you play, because your height-wise isn't going to get you into business, that's for sure, with the forwards and what they need.
I think if you want to win, you want your big boys happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll never forget, like, you'd get your ticket and you'd get an exit row, like if you weren't flying business, and it's just like, if you're a hooker or halfback, you're like, oh, well, that's gone. Paddy, exit row for you, me old mate.
Put those legs out.
Yeah. Offer, he was another one they need to get in there.
Yeah. Make some space for Tamaiti Williams.
100%.
He's a man who needs a big bunch of room.
You need them happy.
Yeah. Lots of body there to fit into business class. Lots of body. Okay, so the All Blacks, do they go back to back and win in Perth?
Yes.
And why?
I think from what we've discussed is I just like the way they went back to an all-out attack. Kicked for attacking purposes. I think Perth offers the same afternoon sort of conditions and the temperature of being able to run them off their feet. And I think Damian McKenzie, that's just perfectly set up for him. Yeah,
look, I think we're still going to see the same pitches, I think, the attacking side. I just want to see a ruthless performance, and I know it's going to be a little bit more difficult with Valentini and Skelton in terms of that physicality, and we're going to have to bar up there 1 to 8, and then even the reserves that are going to come on to win that collision area. Because if we do, like we saw in that first 20 minutes, we're going to be able to play on top of them and then being able to hopefully score points. I think it's just the ruthlessness that I want to see, Ross. Like, it's probably come to a point now where I think we need a statement win. And I think for us, it's no easy feat to do that against the Australians, but I think that's the expectation of what we're kind of wanting to see with this All Black team, to have a really, really good victory that we kind of look back and say, okay, cool, we're on the right trend now, in the right direction.
And I think we should go for it, because we need to win by a big point differential. Like, I reckon we should go for trying to score as many points as possible.
Yeah, and that's not risky?
Potentially, but I'd rather try and win it.
Yeah.
And fall short than play it safe to finish second.
Yeah, true.
Like,
Yeah.
you don't go into a tournament to come second.
Well, I mean, and this team hasn't won a rugby championship under Scott Robertson yet, so they need some trophies.
Yeah, and that's why I just think, man, it's just perfectly for Damian. It's his sort of game.
Let's go.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go. Okay, what about up in London? Is there a world where you see Argentina beating the Springboks in London, Bryn?
I find it hard to, I guess, with how the South Africans are going, but the Argentinians, every time we say it, every time it's the consistency. Can they find a way? And through history, they've been able to do that against all these rugby championship teams. They've been able to do it. So, and the fact that it's not going to be in South Africa, now there will be a big contingency that is in London with what we saw with the All Blacks playing them in South Africa and London not too long ago before the World Cup. But yeah, they did it against the British and Irish Lions. The British and Irish Lions, I think they played in London, correct me if I'm wrong, for that first game of the series, and were able to win that. The way they did that was their contestable games, the aerial game, being able to win that. And then when they do have their opportunities, they've just got to be able to take them, because the South Africans are going to get opportunities. They've been able to show that they have points. I guess the biggest thing for me is the selection. Who is Rusty going to select? Is he going to give them the same group a chance? Not too sure. Probably history shows that he will make a few changes. But if you make sure Sasha is in that number 10 jersey, because they're a good team when he's in that number 10 position.
I think they played in Ireland. Was that
Dublin, yeah.
Yeah, it was at Beaver.
Sorry, Dublin.
The South Africans are also now, because of the URC, very adept at flying from South Africa to the UK and playing football. Like that's part of.
Yeah, I don't think they'll find that a problem. I'm hopeful it's tight, and then and if we can win by a margin, at least put some pressure on them to score some points and hopefully force some errors and give Argentina an opportunity.
Yeah, it would be a lot of fun.
Oh,
it would be a lot of fun if Argentina could get up for that game. So I'm not going to say fingers crossed, but let's keep this championship as tight as possible. Thank you very much for joining us once again on the Aotearoa Rugby Pod. Please send us an email at aotearoarugbypod@sky.co.nz or get into the comments section and we'll scope through what you've got to say and bring it into the show. Thank you very much to Ashley and Martin Medical Hair Centres for sponsoring the show, and to everyone behind the cameras who helps this whole thing happen. Appreciate you very much. We'll catch you next week. Mā te wā.